Nice to see you all. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked out of a negotiation, a conversation, a meeting, and thought, oh, I could have asked for more, or I settled too soon, or gosh, I let emotions take over, I lost myself? If so, you are not alone. Most people treat negotiation like a battle. We're here to fight. But world class negotiators, they treat it like a dance with strategy, psychology, and empathy. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a few things you can do. This is kind of a micro class. We might have a master class on this coming up. It'd be 90, 120 minutes long, maybe an hour and a half. To really do the work with you. But for now, I'm going to do a micro class, just something 15, 20 minutes, give you some insight on negotiation. Now, I ask you to get started if you're watching this live in the comments. All I want to know is what's something that you are about to or might just have recently had to negotiate over. I'm working with some good friends, and we've got some multi-billion-dollar deals we're negotiating on, which is kind of fun and exciting. But what are you negotiating about? Are you negotiating with your child about bedtime? Are you negotiating with your spouse on who handles what? Are you negotiating with your business partner? What are you negotiating on nowadays in your life? Are you negotiating with yourself? Are you going to follow through on your commitments or not? What is it that you're negotiating on? Now, whatever it is, I'm going to start off by saying something simple. You can't hit a target that you can't see. First thing you got to remember, if you're going into negotiation, you have to be crystal clear on your outcome. What is the target? A friend of mine said, you could take a revolver and bah, 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 shoot a bunch of bullets at a wall, and then whatever they land, go draw a big circle around it and call it a bullseye. You'll feel great about yourself, but you're not going to get any better at actually shooting. And he said, if you want to get good, you got to put the target on the wall first and then see if you can hit it. Same thing with negotiation. If you want to get better at negotiating, you can just learn how to be happy with whatever you get, or you can learn how to say, hey, here's what I actually really want. Here's my outcome. Here's what I'm aiming for. One of the biggest predictors of success in negotiation is goal clarity. According to Harvard PON research that was done here, research shows that negotiators with specific and challenging goals outperform those with vague intentions by up to 30%. 30% better results just by coming in with an outcome in mind. You got to think about that. What else do you need? You need to know your outcome. Oh, let me get the chat box open so I can see it. You got to know your outcome. What are you aiming for? This is a big deal. But then number two, something called BATNA, BATNA. If you're watching live, someone put this as notes for me in the chat box. If you could capture this. BATNA, BATNA. What does it stand for? Your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Gives you the power to walk away if the deal isn't right. Do you even have an alternative? If you're going to go negotiate, you have to have options. You have to have alternatives. You have to have other paths you can walk if this doesn't work out. If you're going into a negotiation and you don't have a BATNA, I guarantee you're going to get your butt kicked from the beginning. Guaranteed. You have to have alternative options. Quick tip. Before your next negotiation, write down three things. Number one, what's my outcome? Just take out a piece of paper and write down, if I could have it all my way, and then write it down. This is what I would want to have happen. Number two, what is your minimum acceptable offer? What are you willing to say yes to? Along with that, you have to identify, what are you willing to say no to? You got to be very clear before you go in. And finally, what's your BATNA? What's your best alternative negotiated agreement? What is your BATNA? What's your backup plan? Meaning, if it's not your minimum acceptable offer, if it's less than what you're willing to accept, what are you willing to do? Do you have another path you can take? If you have those three things written down, according to the research, you're going to have up to 30% better results just starting there alone. Now, if we move forward a little bit and think this through, what else would be extremely useful? Oh, I lost my mouse. Where'd I go? Here we go. Well, you are bringing yourself to the table. So I always say this. One of my mentors said, if you decided to become the CEO of your business, That means you looked around at 8 billion people on earth and you looked at every single one of them and said, nope, two thumbs, best option on earth right here. This guy, this is the best option on earth to run this company. That's what happened. If you made yourself CEO, you looked at every alternative human being available and decided you're the guy or gal that's the best on earth to run this thing. Same thing. If you are negotiating on behalf of yourself, if you've gone into this conversation or negotiation, that means you believe, you right there, you are the best on earth to negotiate this. So according to research, 49% of your negotiation outcome is based on your personality. Now, some of you just went, oh, shoot, well, there goes my negotiation. But others are excited. There's a few key traits. They actually figured out the correlation. So it's a 0.4 correlation, 0.33 correlation, respectively. These two traits, conscientiousness and openness to improve outcomes. If you have conscientiousness and openness, you're aware and you're open, it's going to improve your results by 0.4%, 0.4 and 0.33. Now, if you have emotional intelligence, it is the single biggest predictor of negotiation success by 0.472 correlation. What does this mean? If you can stay calm, if you can read the room, and if you can respond with empathy, you will win more often. I'll say it again. If you can stay calm, read the room, and respond with empathy, you're going to win more often when it comes to negotiation. So how do you practice these things? Well, here's the metaphor. Can you be the calm in the eye of the storm? Can you stand in a conversation? Can you stand communicating on a topic that you really want it to go your way? Can you learn to just stay calm? Pay attention to all the cues and signals everyone's giving you. Stay focused on your outcome and be unattached. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you have an alternative path. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I already have other stuff set up. But if it does, happy to make it come together. Can you be in that position? Well, in a study comparing 94 different people, the ones who meditated regularly, we talk about this all the time, the ones who meditated regularly were significantly more effective negotiators. Why? Because they were better at observing, describing, and not overreacting emotionally. Mindfulness helps regulate emotions, maintain power balance, and create constructive climate. Practical tool: before any big conversation, before any big negotiation, take 2 minutes, breathe, center yourself, get clear on your outcome, focus on your intention. Can you practice that before just going straight into the conversation, straight into the negotiation? One of my favorite phrases, I am here now. If you want creativity, go find an open, vast view and just stare out. I live right on the beach, so I just stare out into the ocean. Let your mind and body relax. It'll provoke creativity in your mind and nervous system. Get calm. And I always focus on, what can I offer them? How can I make sure they get everything they dreamed about in this negotiation? Well, I can still get everything I dreamed about. And I'm not talking about win-win. That's nice. But really, truly, how do I make this something we'll both look back on and think this was the greatest step forward both of us ever made in our life? How do I make sure that we'll end up just, our minds are blown years from now, looking back saying, thank goodness that came together. Well, what do I have to bring to the table? What do I have to make sure they bring to the table? Who would I have to be over the next few days, weeks, months, and years? Well, I'll give you another metaphor to think about: the samurai sword or a silk ribbon. There's a myth out there that says being nice, you'll get walked all over, and being firm makes you aggressive. Here's the truth. Distributive deals, meaning a one-time win-lose type deal, firmness often wins. So if it's a one-time deal and someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, zero-sum game, then being firm, this is what I want and I'm not backing down, is often going to get you there. But in a relationship-based deal, something that's going to last a long time, these are the ones I love. I don't want something that's a transaction. It's one time and done. No, thank you, not my deal. I can make money doing anything. I'd rather make it with people I actually enjoy working with, people I enjoy spending time with, people I want to have lunch with and travel with and hang out with and do all the cool stuff in life with. Those are the kind of deals I want to do. So if it's a relationship base, a warm but clear approach works best. What does that mean? Well, let me go through what I call our influence matrix. Our influence matrix has 4 levels. Level 1 is someone who's cold and vague. They're not clear on what they want. They kind of just say, oh, yeah, sure. Well, maybe. They're kind of just loosey-goosey. And they're cold. They're shut off. You're getting the cold shoulder kind of deal from them. I call these people ghosts. They're not clear on what their intention is. They're not vocalizing what they actually want. And they're just kind of tuned off emotionally. They're disconnected and like, sure, yeah, whatever. That kind of stuff. Someone who's vague but super nice, like anything you want. Sure, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, okay. I call these people a doormat. They're going to get walked all over. They're vague. They're not clear on what they actually want. They're just kind of wandering. In the business world, these are worker bees. These are people who they show up and they work really hard, but they don't have a vision of their own. They're just stuck doing someone else's thing because they were asked to or told to. In negotiation, these people are in that doormat position. If you go up a level, people who are firm, they're extremely clear on what they want. They're firm about it, but they're cold. They're not open emotionally. They're not conscientious. They're not emotionally, connected. They don't have that emotional EQ. These people are enforcers. They're here to just tell you the bottom line. This is how it's going to be. There's no other option. Moving forward, this is it. Take it or leave it. These are enforcers. They just kind of force their way through it. And it works for short-term relationships, transactional stuff. It doesn't work for long-term relationships. Eventually, they're found out and people avoid them. But if you're both clear, you know your outcome, and you're warm, you have that emotional EQ, you become a trusted leader in negotiation. You become someone that not only someone will do a deal with, but they'll tell other people, yeah, sure, they negotiated hard, but in the end, they're a great human. I'd love to do deals with them. I'd recommend it. I would work with them again because I know they had my best interest in mind. I know they did what was right, not just what felt good. Ask yourself, what energy are you bringing to the table? And is it working for you or against you? How do you elevate? How do you get both clear and warm? How do you navigate from whatever your tendency is to that prime position? Well, final few pieces here. Different maps, different terrain. Let's think about it. When negotiating across cultures, genders, awareness is your biggest asset. I've had the beautiful opportunity. We have clients in 137 countries around the world. I get to speak with people who have totally different beliefs than I do, who have totally different backgrounds, training, religion, customs, communication patterns. I was interviewed the first time I went to go speak in the GCC region. A major publication came and interviewed me, and they said, hey, how did you prepare your material and your information to fit this region, our customs, our communication styles? I said, that's a great question. Great question. I said, well, I spent weeks studying how things go around here and what are the customs and what are the no tab, the don't do those, the taboos. What are the absolutely you have to do it this way? And as I was learning these things, I was like, oh, well, that's not hard. I mean, once you understand the basic rules, it's easy to play the game. I'll give you a clue, though. Here's something to think about, even in a relationship, a friendship, a business partnership, an intimate relationship, any type of relationship. I always say every person has a rule book in their own mind. Things that should happen, things that shouldn't happen, things that must happen or there's no deal, or things that cannot happen, or they have these rules in their head. But number one, most people aren't even clear on their own rules. And number two, imagine if you and I sat down at a board to play a game, a table to play a game, and we took out the board game, put it on the table, but I gave you the rule book to Monopoly and myself the rule book to chess. And we read the rules that we have in our own hand, and then we go start the game. And I say, well, you can go first. And you say, do you want to be the Mrs. Plum or Mr. Green? And I look at you and go, well, that's an interesting thing to ask. I was going to ask if you wanted to be the white pieces or the black pieces. And you look around and go, there are no white or black pieces. That's interesting. Now, you and I must be really nice to each other And 4 or 5 turns into it, we'll be accommodating. But once we get to that 6th, 7th, 8th turn, one of us is going to be like, what are you doing? You're doing it wrong. You're breaking all the rules. That's what happens when any two humans get together and don't share up front. What are the rules of engagement? What are my expectations of you? What are your expectations of me? What are the things we absolutely must have happen for this to work? What are the things that would make this immediately fall apart? I was working on a partnership and I asked him, I said, what are the top 3 things that if I were to do, it would immediately dissolve the partnership? And I said, whatever those are, can you put them in the agreement so I'm crystal clear on what not to do? And one of my partners looked at me and said, you're crazy. Why would you say that? And I said, I need to know where the boundaries are. This is so important, so important. But getting back to this, if you think of different cultures, research shows that, we can talk genders. Men initiate more in negotiations. Women can outperform when stereotypes are neutralized. You got to ask the questions up front. Who's sitting across the table? What matters to them most? And what biases or blind spots might be playing a role in my perception or understanding, the things that I'm not aware of. So you might need a trusted partner, someone who understands these things, who can coach you a little, give you some insight of how things work around here to make sure that you're set up for success. Final piece, if you think about it, negotiation is a tool belt, different tools for different jobs. 3 core styles, each within their own place. If you're someone who's more compromising, this is ideal when you're stuck or building bridges, meaning you're trying to build a relationship where there's a stuck point in negotiation. If you're more dominating, meaning you're more forceful, that driver, useful when time is short or stakes are high. If you're integrated, this is great for long-term win-win deals. So lots of different approaches, lots of different styles here. Again, if you're interested in a full masterclass where we help you understand your style, understand your strengths, understand how to spot other people's styles and approaches, and understand the best approach to each different personality type or style, just, type masterclass in the comments, just so I know how much interest there is and if we should actually build it out and put it online. Anyways, at PCU, Performance Coach University, we help you map out your default style, expand your toolkit so you can stop reacting and start leading. Here's the truth. Negotiation isn't about being louder or smarter. It is about being clearer, calmer, and more connected. If you want to take these tools deeper, if you want to learn how to coach others through conflict, leadership, and communication, then I invite you to join us at Performance Coach University. You'll walk away certified, confident, and capable of coaching in any conversation, from the boardroom to the living room and anywhere in between. All you got to do is visit performancecoachuniversity.com to learn more and enroll today. Let's help you become the kind of person that can create win-win outcomes everywhere you go. If you know someone who needs some help on this, please tag them in it. If you're interested in that online masterclass, just type the word masterclass. I'll take a peek at the comments after this and see how much interest we have. And if there is, we'll create an extended actual workshop you can go through to learn who you are, how it applies to you, and the best way you can navigate all the most important negotiations and conversations in your life. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. I'm going to go hang out with my son. See y'all later.